Sausage.
Hello, everyone. This is Attack the Backlog, the podcast where I, Mark Kuznez, tries to make a dent in their backlog one game at a time. This episode is all about Grounded. This is, in fact, the second episode, part two, the final episode of my playthrough of Grounded. I have beaten the game, and by beating the game, I mean I completed the main quest line as part of version 1.0. I don't know what version we're at this point, but I crafted the re-invigorating cocktail, defended the process, took it back to the other invigorating device thing near the start of the game, made myself big again, and saw credits roll, all that jazz, and for that matter, beating the game. It took me roughly 37-ish hours to do so, play the entire game solo. Did most of it blind. I didn't wanna search guides unless I had to, and in some cases I had to, in part because of various reasons I'll get to. But overall thoughts, I really, really like the game. It has one big issue I'll get to in this episode that is related to the real final mission that has you actually doing something and not just taking something somewhere and pressing a button. But overall, I had a really good time with the game. I like the theme again of it basically being Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, being in this backyard, this world where things that are usually small to us are much larger. I like the way in which, especially after getting through the first, the Black Ant Hill, I keep wanting to call it a maze. The Black Ant Hill lab is a word I keep forgetting. But after getting through there and having to get to this upper level area of the backyard, figuring out how to get there was fun because there may be a more sensible way to get there, but what I ended up doing was finding a low spot in the foundation and crafting a ladder up there. And then there was a gap that I still couldn't jump over, so I had to craft a little clay ramp to get up there, and then I was good to go. I then needed more equipment to deal with the sizzling area and so on and such. But my nose, every time I start recording these things, something is like, oh, my nose hair, my mustache hairs, they just want to curl up into my nose and tickle the crap out of me. I don't like being tickled while I'm recording an episode. All right. Fun fact. Surprise, surprise. Don't like being tickled. I don't like being tickled in general, but especially when I'm doing this stuff and my nose hairs, not nose hairs, mustache hairs. But I liked that process, even though crafting is one of the things that I never really engaged with all that much. The base building mechanic of this game, I don't know for most grounded players how much of a factor that is for them, how deep they get into that, and how important it may seem to be. I don't know if it's something you deal with more frequently on higher difficulties, because again, I dropped the difficulty to mild after about hour 12 or so. But for me, base building was something I didn't engage with at all, except when I had a mission to get cozy level 1. So in order to reach cozy level 1, I just realized I haven't had this on the whole time. Now we're right and all that jazz. Oh, for Christ's sake. This is this is an episode. But the base building is something I only engaged with when I had the mission to reach cozy level 1, did it, and then never bothered with it again. I defended my base a few times, but my little base and crafting area that I called home was just the first field station outside of where you start the game because I just didn't care. I just didn't care. And the game didn't give me a reason to care. So engaging in building, crafting of that nature, well, not crafting, but just building was something I didn't really mess with unless I had to, like with the ladder I built and all that jazz. And that comes to the point or the part of the game that really bothered me, and that was that last mission. 'Cause there's not that much to talk about post last episode because it is ultimately more of the same. The narrative is fine. It's basically there to give you something to strive for story wise if you don't want to just be in this world surviving and exploring, which is what I enjoy doing most of the time. But because there was this story there, this narrative there, and progression related to it, I wanted to engage with it. And I like the way that it naturally guided you through the backyard and got you to, even though it's not specifically saying go to this maze, then this lab. Why am I constantly calling it a maze? I don't know why. It's baffling to me. But even though you can tackle the labs, the 4 ground level labs in whatever order you want, I would assume there is a natural through line to which ones you should go to and in the order you should go through them in that sense, in that you're obviously starting with the hedge lab, but then the pond lab, the haze lab, and then the black ant hill lab. But I like the way the narrative subtly, I guess, pushes you through the game and the various areas in a way that you never feel super overwhelmed. You feel like you are naturally going to the next area where you are capable of dealing with the hardships and the adversaries, the new bugs you're going to be dealing with, and not being completely destroyed. Especially putting on mild helps with some of the bigger bugs like wolf spiders who were a pain in the ass. But even though they're easier to deal with, and now with my very upgraded anthill greatsword, I'm able to deal with a lot of bugs very easily, even wolf spiders. I still don't like seeing them. I don't like dealing with them if I don't have to, but I really like that nature of the narrative. So I think the narrative being there is nice, even if you are someone who just wants to be in the world and explore and get lost in the world of Grounded, which is what I enjoyed doing most of the time. That's why I spent almost 40 hours in the game. And I've probably now at this point, post completing it and streaming it, I have played more of it. I've probably surpassed 40 hours. I'm going after the milk molars now to upgrade my character. And then I'll probably strive for some bosses. It's a game that I think there were a few achievements in it that are probably not something I'll be able to do on my own. Maybe some of the more higher level mixer protection things, the horde, the oh my god, now there's something in my eye. Oh my god, there's a little bug in my eye, probably. Stupid little. What the hell? What the hell? But that leads me to my issue with the game, or my issue with a particular mission, the final mission, not the real final mission, but when you have the mission to craft the re-beginning recipe and you have all of the materials, you go to the area in the upper part of the yard, you put them all in there, and then, of course, well, first, the device breaks, you got to fix it. And part of my frustration too with some of the progression and the story is that you will need certain tools to progress further. Like when you have to use Dr. Wendell's device, what are they called? The scar, I think. When you have to use his scar to get the rest of the recipe, you have to break open the battery back with a hammer, but it has to be a level 3 hammer. How do you get a level 3 hammer? Well, not level 3, tier 3 hammer. To get a tier 3 hammer, you need a Black Ox Beetle's horn, and that's the way you learn of the recipe as well. But I dealt with 2 Black Ox Beetles prior to reaching there, never found on either of them their horns, so I wasn't able to discover that recipe, and I also needed the tier 3 axe in order to get another part, I think, of that recipe. But in order to figure out what I needed to do to get a tier 3 hammer, I had to look it up because I w I just didn't know. I didn't have the recipe, I didn't know where to find it, and I had to look it up. And those are those instances where I alluded to in that, for the most part, I played this without seeking knowledge elsewhere, but there were times where I had to just because things were unclear and my progression was locked behind some kind of missing tool or missing something, and I didn't know how to get it, where to get it, etc. And I didn't want to just, as much as I enjoyed being in the world and exploring it, I didn't want to just meander about when I had a specific goal in mind, a specific task I was going after. When I set out to go down this line and complete this mission, I didn't want to just spend hours and hours and hours trying to naturally, organically figure it out. But getting back to that final mission of crafting the reinvigorating cocktail, what I hated about that mission and what almost made me not finish this game, again, in quotations, because it's really a survival game where you're meant to be in this world, exploring, finding all these various things, finding secrets, crafting, building an incredible base that you then protect and all that jazz. Sure, I'm sure that's what a lot of people do. But what I hated about that final mission is that what it entails is waiting for it's basically a super mixer mission. And the mixers are these devices scattered around the yard that you activate them and then waves of bugs will come and attack. And you have to protect the mixer device while this is happening. And the thing about those missions is that they're completely optional. They're just these devices around the yard that you can engage with if you want, but you don't have to. And I didn't bother with them because I didn't want to deal with them. I felt more restricted because I was a solo player, didn't want to engage with crafting, and so I didn't. But this mainline mission of crafting the reinvigorating cocktail requires you to partake in a much more elaborate and difficult one of these missions where you now have three things you have to protect. There are these three plugs leading to the device that is crafting the cocktail, and they have sensitive, open parts of their plug, their whatever that are susceptible to damage, and you have to protect them. If you don't put up any kind of defense, you're screwed as a solo player, especially. Maybe with a group, you can not put up any kind of defense and make it through. But I tried it first just to see what it would be like, was wrecked very quickly. So then I put up grass walls just to cover up these things. That wasn't enough. And I was so frustrated with this and the fact that the game forces you to engage in this system that up until that point was 100% optional. The fact that they threw in a mission like that on the main quest line is insane to me because I had played 30 plus hours at that point, never engaging with base defense or the building outside of the ladder I made. That was it. So forcing me to now engage with that system and deal with it was so frustrating to the point where I almost quit the game there. I was going back and forth between whether or not I was going to finish the game because I didn't even know if I could. I mean, yes, I could by building a great defense and all that jazz. I looked some things up and the level of building that some people did to successfully complete that mission, making these moats and just incredibly elaborate mushroom brick things and just insane setups that I was not going to do. There was no way I would figure out how to do things on my own because I had not been engaged with that system. So what I ended up having to do, and part of it is also just the luck of how the enemies decide to attack. Because sometimes they would all focus on one plug or two plugs or so on and so forth. But I ended up having to create 3 layers of grass walls to just slow down their accessing the weak points of these plugs. And I managed to do it. It was not gratifying, but when I did actually complete the mission, it was a kind of sigh of relief because it was over and done with and I could finish the game. But I probably spent 2 hours on that single mission, an hour and 45 of them just trial and error, ultimately getting to maybe more than 2 hours when I'm thinking about it now of having to craft these grass walls, going around in the vicinity to get the grass stems that I could use to craft the grass. It was it was just a nightmare that put a sour taste in my mouth in what was an overall really fun experience. But as bad as it was, it didn't make me dislike the game, obviously, because I'm still playing it now. I did finish it, and I still love the game. I had a really, really good time with it. I just think it's insane to throw in a mission that requires you to do something that's in the game for sure. Yes, that mechanic, that system is in the game, but up until that point, completely optional. I brought up some examples when I was streaming it. One real life example, kind of, and then one game one. But it would be like getting a stuffed crust pizza, which I was talking with my friend Living Large about because they just introduced Parmesan stuffed crust pizza at Domino's, something like that. And it would be like ordering that and grabbing a slice, eating it, eating all the regular pizza part that's delicious that you love, and getting to that stuffed crust, which you're so excited about. You know, you're almost at the end and you can't wait to finish it. And then inside of the stuffed crust, instead of cheese, is mayonnaise. Imagine that. That would not be enjoyable, would it? Or some other gross thing you don't like. But then game wise, what I compare to more so is Halo. So Halo, if you don't know, is a first person shooter. And that's primarily what you're doing in the game. But every now and again, you might drive around, but you're doing that very seldomly. And it's just here and there. But it's always annoying when a Halo game that has you shooting the vast majority of the time decides to end on this super long, not even complicated, but just this super long driving section. I hated it in Halo 3. I think Halo 1 has the same thing. I don't know if Halo 2 had it, but why end the game with something you rarely, if ever, do in the game? It just it doesn't make any sense to me, and it's not fun. It's just annoying and frustrating. That pissed me off. But other than that, I really like the game. I befriended the red ant queen, so I got a little ant buddy. The pets in this game are fucking broke. At least the aphid. The aphid won't eat shit, and they annoy the crap out of me. I wish I could dismiss a pet because all they do is show their stupid sad face on the map, and I want to get rid of them. Also, Wendell's raisoning, fucking weirdo look. You're fucking weird looking. But I, again, really like the game. I'm going to continue playing it. I want to find various secrets. I'm sure there's certain bosses I won't be able to deal with. I knew there was going to be a Black Widow in the game, and the Black Widow destroyed me. I haven't gone back to try and fight it since because I hate spiders, and this thing attacks so fast and did so much damage. I'm sure there is a strategy to it. I think I looked it up, or maybe in my little BC area, it said they were weak to mint damage because I think they're different from the other spiders that are all weak to spicy. I think the Black Widow was weak to mint, but I think it's a very, very well made game overall. It has some bugs and little quirks here and there, but it does what it's setting out to do very, very well. And the the world is surprisingly varied and can be scary at times. There's another boss that I haven't dealt with. I guess it's a praying mantis in this flower pot, which I'm curious about. No scorpions. I don't know if there are any scorpions in the game. I haven't come across any, but I really like the game. It's a good game. Grounded. I'm glad I decided to play it and finally got around to it, having had it on my hard drive for years, and now it, after playing it, is going to be a forever hard drive game. So that's where that's at. Combat's pretty all right. Parry system's kind of fun to deal with, to mess around with. And I find myself looking up guides and strategies for best trinkets, best mutations, all that jazz, which I was not expecting to get that into it, but I'm liking it. And I'm curious about what the new game pluses entail because based on what little I've looked into, it's mostly the same, but some things open up and you unlock new recipes and stuff of that nature potentially. Yeah, Grounded. Grounded's a good game, and I would like to be able to play it with people in the future if anyone's ever interested. I'm curious how that works in terms of if you put your game on mild or super hard, whoa, that is it then whoa for me if I'm still playing on mild and so on. But I think that's enough of Grounded. So that'll do it for this here episode of Attack the Backlog. Once again, I am Marcus Nez. Y'all can find me pretty much everywhere at PX Sausage. If you enjoy this here show or any of the stuff I do and what have you, you can support me and my nonsense over at patreon.com/PXS. In addition to the Patreon, or no, or the PXS, there you can get access to a monthly Q&A, the occasional watch party, a private Discord channel, along with some fancy Discord roles, and the random drop on the Patreon here or there, depending on your tier. That is, of course, Patreon, or again, patreon.com/PXS. In addition to the Patreon, you can find links to the site, the YouTube, the Discord, and so much more over at pxsausage.com. That is the letter P, the letter X, sausage.com. But that is it. That is all. As always, thank you for watching or listening. I hope you enjoyed this here episode, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day whenever you are watching or listening to this. But for now, adios, arrivederci. Bye.